Make sure. So hello and welcome.
Right there, go right.
Everybody okay? Great. TimeBank.org's Town Hall Call. We have a very, very special call today. But before we begin our sharing, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about these Town Hall calls. These monthly calls provide a space for all TimeBank members to foster connectivity through sharing each other's experiences. When we share our experiences, we are moving the movement and creating a more global community. We hope to provide a safe place to share our thoughts and dreams and where everyone is welcome and heard. We are recording this call, so please be aware if you share any personal information. My name is Abby Greer. I'm in Kent, Ohio, and I would also like to introduce the rest of the TimeBanks.org team. So as I call you out, please give a nice wave. Our executive director, Krista Wyatt, is here.
Hey, everyone.
Yes, hello. And we have Pam De Ocampo.
Hey, everyone.
Eric Bachman.
Hello, everybody.
And our co-chair, Kathy Perlow. Where's Kathy? Oh, did we miss? Oh, there she is. Okay, sorry. so many people. I love it. And then finally, Chris Gray. Big wave from Chris Gray. She'll be back. Here she is. So as I said, we have I want to feel in my heart a celebratory and beautiful call today, although I do have some Kleenexes here. As most of you know, on January 23rd, our world has lost a wonderful pioneer and trailblazer to the TimeBank movement. Dr. Edgar Kahn, age 86, author of Time Dollars and No More Throwaway People, and one of the founding fathers of time banking, embodied the highest ideals of both mobilizing communities to come together to express their strengths and to restore mutual care. He created a new way to link untapped social capacity to unmet social needs, and for communities to come together to help promote trust, reciprocity, and citizen engagement. In the most beautiful way, Edgar moved people from his heart. He made each person feel that their problem is important and that he has all the time in the world for them. So in honor of Edgar, we are dedicating this town hall call to all of the people whose lives he has touched. We asked if any of you have a story or experience to share about Edgar. We hope to hear them all. We've extended the call. Instead of 4 to 5, we will be going to 4 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to put your name in the chat and say, hey, there's something I want to share. Both Pam and I will be watching the chat. But first, I would like to introduce Chris Gray, his wife and partner for 23 years. I believe she's going to regale us with some celebratory things about Edgar, and I'm going to hand the call off to Chris.
Well, thank you so much, Abby. And it's so wonderful to see so many faces here. Some of you very new to time banking and some going all the way back from my early days. I joined Edgar in 1999 and I'm seeing faces here from that time. And I know some of you, like Martin, was here even before then. In 1998, I think you began, Martin. And of course, he was doing time banking before then. Marshy goes back all the way to 1987, I think. I think you're the earliest standing person for time banking here on the thing. Yay, Marshy.
I was 3 when I started.
Yes, of course, we can see that. So anyway, you've been doing it a good long time. I'm seeing people coming in to, is this Amy DiBenedetto coming in maybe? I don't know, it's an Amy. So anyway, it's just wonderful, wonderful to see you all. And we talked about the fact that I would be sharing my memories first with Edgar, even though I wasn't the first among you all to meet with him, but I do remember very, very early on, he managed not to talk about time banking with me for about a month, which is actually pretty extraordinary, because you will all know that Edgar, when it came to time banking, everything had paled in comparison. And he did say to me, when he asked me to marry him, he said, you know, Chris, if you do marry me, you'll be marrying time banks as well. And I sort of knew it. I didn't really know quite how deep that would go and how that would be. But yes, indeed, I married time banks with him. And for the last 23 years, that has been our joint life together. So I will be showing you a slideshow and a little bit of photos that people have sent in to Pam. And we don't have all of you in those photos, sadly, but we have a lot of you in those photos. And I hope they'll prompt many memories that you have of this amazing, wonderful man. And I want to share a couple from the very, very, very beginning. A couple, one of the earliest things I did was go up with Edgar to Maine, because up in Maine, time banking was going off at a rare clip. Automane had been working with Richard Rockefeller, and they'd been really growing time banking there pretty enthusiastically. So we went up there, and there was a meeting, and everybody was sitting around the table, and Edgar spoke, and everyone else went quiet. And I was still quite new to Edgar at that time. And there's literally this stream of words, this just flow of words came out from him. This just extraordinary flow of words about time banking. And what he would do, he would tap into this brain of his that would just keep connecting one thing to the next, the next, to the next, to the next. And everybody was just spellbound by those words. And in fact, words for Edgar were almost, they were so precious. They were the building blocks of everything. And so the first thing that he and I did together when we were together was this: no more throwaway people. He was working on it. He didn't like his first drafts. And he said, let's work on this together, Chris. So every morning at 5:30, he would get up and he would write at least 5 pages. Then I would read the 5 pages. And if it was powerful, and a lot of it was really, really powerful, it often made me cry, he would say, that's good, we'll keep that. And we put it in a binder. We keep it in a binder. And then at the end, we had about 25 chapters of little short chapters of 5 to 7 pages. And we thought it was a masterpiece. We thought it was absolutely brilliant. We sent it off to a few people, and they hummed and hawed, and we realized it was not a masterpiece. And so then came the rewrites and the rewrites and the rewrites. And all in all, I think it took probably about 6 months to write the book, to get the book written. And then we presented it at the 2000 conference. We presented the book and the ideas at the 2000 conference. And that was the first time that the 5 core values, and they were only 4 then, were really formally presented in any way. Edgar had them in mind, but it was only in this book that they really came together. And at first, we didn't emphasize those core values tremendously. It wasn't until a time bank coordinator said to us, you know what? I find that when I really stress the core values, it really makes a difference to our time bank. I mean, oh my goodness, yes. And from then on, we threaded the core values through everything we did. So another early memory I have was going to Britain with Edgar. And it was a conference, and we were doing a workshop together. I don't know if it was 2002 or earlier, I don't know, but it was fairly early days. and we were doing a workshop on the core values. And by that time, well, Martin mentioned a sort of slightly mischievous aspect to Edgar. He could be very mischievous. He had a lovely sense of humor. But this time I turned the tables on him a bit. I said, look, Edgar, I'm going to prepare the workshop. We're doing a workshop, and I'm not going to tell you what I've prepared. And when I want you to speak, I'm just going to lob it over to you and see what happens, okay? So I didn't share the agenda or anything. Nobody in that workshop knew where we were going or what we were doing. But I had an agenda in mind. Edgar didn't know what it was, nor did anybody else. And then as we went down to the, through the workshop, I would just lob it over to Edgar and say, so Edgar, what would you say? Or, so Edgar, where would you take it at this point? And it was the most genius workshop ever. It was the most wonderful thing because Edgar, it sort of became this kind of little duet that we were doing, and with the workshop as well. It was so full of life. I could just see people in the workshop. They were beaming through the workshop. Edgar was beaming, I was beaming, because we were making it up as we go along. And you will all know, making it up as you go along was one of Edgar's favorite things to do. He would often say, well, you have to make it up as you go along. And we were doing it in that workshop. And even after the workshop, people were coming up with suggestions. Could you have a 6th core value? How about this is a 6th core value? Hey, well, we could think about that too, but we sort of stuck with a 5. So there are so many memories to share across the years. And as I showed the photographs to you, they'll come up for you too. I know they will. But I would like to just share one from noon today, because at noon today, our little time bank here in DC, the DC Time Bank, held a soup swap, which was organized by Elizabeth Biener, who I think is actually on this call. And she had just gone ahead to organize a soup swap, and people brought soup to a local coffee shop. We all stood outside, and I think about 12 people brought soup, and they swapped soup with each other. It was such a fun thing to do, and it was so emblematic of the giving and receiving that's at the heart of time banking. And while I was there, I got talking to somebody, her name was Simran, who actually interviewed Edgar for a TV show in 2005. And she was with somebody by the name of Bill Messler, who was a writer who had written on time banking very, very early on too, maybe 2002, 2003. So there they were. And she was telling me that she had moved back to DC in October of this year, and she'd encountered Bill and they'd started dating. She had no idea that he knew Edgar Kahn. He had no idea that she was part of the time bank that she'd just joined, or that she'd interviewed Edgar way back in the past. They found that out, and she did some exchanges with a time bank member and was introduced to another time bank member who it turned out was 2 floors below her in the building in which she lives. And then she found that there was yet another time bank member living in that same building in this massive city of DC. And she said, it's just extraordinary, all these linkages and connections happening through this time bank. And I said, I am sharing with that today, because that is the most recent memory I have of time banking. And there's so many that to sort of bookend the very beginning and the very end is what I'm so happy to do. And I'm trying to think of one that might be in the middle that would just be so emblematic. Yes, I will actually, because I'm seeing Martin there, Martin and Julie. So the last time that we went to the UK, we actually went first to Spain and had the most wonderful time learning about what's going on in time banking in Europe, which is amazing. Spain has really led the way with a ton of time banking, which has spread now to South America, which is so very, very exciting. So there was a whole contingent of people from Spain and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on a word, Milanus. Anna Miari's friend and partner was there too. And that brought back memories of Anna Miaris, who many of you will know was an extraordinary warrior for time banking. And from there in Spain, we went to Portugal, where we met Marco and Bruno, who were doing time banking and creating a whole new time banking software. That was an amazing thing. And then we went over to England and we met with Martin and Julie and Sarah Bird and Time Banking UK down in Gloucester and Riaz. And we learned of all the amazing things that are being done there. And it was just so, it was just such an extraordinary thing to be going around. And I can't end this without mentioning flying over to Korea and Taiwan and just being exposed to time banking as it's going on there. And just thinking what an amazing, I know I've used this word many, many times in these past few minutes, but for Edgar to see how his work was flourishing around the world. I haven't mentioned yet New Zealand and Australia and other countries. There's so many countries now, Africa, Senegal. I think there's some in Uganda. It was just for Edgar, just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see this happening. And I will finish by saying the very, very last words that Edgar actually spoke to you all. I made a little video of him on the last night that he actually died very early the next morning. I had no sense that he was going to die, nor did he. Well, he obviously did. I'll read it to you. I did not. And so this is what Edgar said to me the last day on this earth for him. Hello to everyone. This is or it may be my last chance to say how much I love you and how much you have carried the creation of a whole new movement that will go on in its own right. I am very proud of what we've set in motion. Time banking will continue to redefine what's possible. I'm very proud of what we've made clear. I think it was clear. His voice sort of stumbled a bit. God bless you all. And that was just his message to you all on the last few hours, actually, of his life. And that was how central time banking was to him. He was really convinced that this could be such a force for good. The mission statement of time banking when I joined him was very short. It was to create an economy that rewards decency, caring, and a passion for justice. And that was Edgar through and through. He was decent, he was caring, and he had, honestly, a passion for justice that never, ever let up. So thank you all for listening to me about my sharing with Edgar. And what I'd like to do is go through the photographs that Pam has collected. And thank you all so much for sharing, sending in photos to share. And then we'll turn over to all of you to hear some of your memories about Edgar. Okay, thank you for all listening. Now you'll all be watching because I am going to share screens with you, and we'll go over to this slideshow. And I will tell you that Zoom immediately makes you all invisible to me. I can only see the slideshow, I can't see you. So I am just going to walk on through and maybe pause a little bit, just if there are any comments. And I'm hoping that somebody else can take the comments If that's not, then I'll just go all the way through the slideshow. So here is our Dory Butter and Amy Di Benedetto. And I'm having a senior moment, Mr. Fraser, but I can't remember his first
Mr. Dixon.
Mr. Dixon. Thank you, Dory.
And
that's
we don't see the
wonderful.
pictures yet right now, actually.
Leonard.
You can't see the pictures?
I can't. I don't know if everybody else can.
You're not seeing the pictures. Oh my gosh. So I'm just looking at my same. Oh, somebody just entered the room. So let me just do share screen and try that again. Okay. I'm so glad you said that. Mr. Dixon. And he was such a presence here in the office. All right. Let me just make sure that I'm in the right thing. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Now we see the pictures, Chris. You're
Now
good.
you see the pictures. Great, wonderful. So there's Dory Butter to the left and Amy Di Benedetto to the right, and Edgar and myself and Mr. Dixon, who's rightfully holding the center there. Mr. Dixon would be in the front room, and he greeted anybody who came to the house. He came as a volunteer, and he was only supposed to be with us for 1 year. And I think he was like 7 years with us because he just wanted to stay. And we loved having Mr. Dixon with us in that, being that welcoming face for everybody. So I'm going to try not to talk too much for each of these slides because we'll be here all evening. These are members of the youth court, the youth court team. I'm not going to call them all out, but there's Dory again. And Mr. Dixon right in the middle again, as you can see, Edgar to the right, looking very happy. So that was our youth court team when we ran a youth court. I am not sure, I recognize the face here, but I cannot name person. And if anybody is here who knows this person in the room, and Edgar with these young people, no doubt talking about time banking with them. This may have been cross-age peer tutoring in Chicago, but it just was such a lovely picture of Edgar interacting with children. And if anybody has a comment, please call it out just like Dory did. This is part of the team. So we actually see Anna Miares, who I just mentioned, standing there, plaid jacket. And she was a presence. Oh my goodness, was Anna a presence. And to the left, standing next to Edgar, is John Butch, who ran the youth court. And there's Amy back there too. I'm not seeing Dory there, but anyway, there we go. And if you see any names that you know, please call them out because there are going to be lots and lots of people's names in these pictures. This was with Masako. Here we are. Masako took time banking to Japan, and a contingent of Japanese came over, and we met with them and talked about taking time banking to Japan, which was a thrill as well. Here's Anna and Edgar and myself in El Paso. Banco del Barrio in El Paso, where Anna managed to sign up so many people to vote on voter registration that the Time Bank actually beat out the official voter registration drive. Like I said, Anna was a force of nature. And some of you will remember this time. This was at Mark McDonough's house, and we had a gathering to chart out the future of time banking. And so there's some stalwarts of time banking. There's Martin, there's Autumn Main, that's Anna right in the middle there. And there's Amy again. So Maureen over here, familiar faces and more. There's Barbara and there's Marshy. And I think the person's name was, gosh, I'm not remembering. And this was Andrew here. And I apologize to anybody whose name I don't recall. There's Anne Rogers. And this, Kathy Perlow. Wow, that's Kathy. So Kathy, do you know this person here on the right?
Yes, that was one of our like super leaders in our time bank. And she sadly has since passed away, but she was a real proponent of time banking for us.
Wow, that's so wonderful. And look how happy everybody is looking, especially Edgar. Look at that grin on his face. He is looking really happy. That was so magical to go up and see the community exchange, and Anne Rogers and Kathy were the two really coordinators making it happen. So here we are, more of community exchange up there. And Kathy, there's another person here, Lorraine, is that right? Behind you in blue? Orally.
Laura.
Laura, that was right.
Right.
Yeah.
The three of us were staff, and these were our AmeriCorps Vista volunteers. And that was, this was in Madison, Wisconsin. I think we were getting ready to head out or something. Yeah, we had 4 of our AmeriCorps Vistas with us. So that was really special to be able to bring them to a conference.
And would that conference have been the 2007 in Madison, the first one?
Yes.
Yes, it was those. And I know I can't see any of you because, well, I could stop sharing for a moment, but Stephanie Rericks with you, I believe, and Stephanie was amazing because she had run her time bank for, I think, 1 year. And she said, I'm volunteering to host the time bank conference. Really? After 1 year of doing time banking? And she did it. It was the most amazing conference. It was a wonderful thing. We hosted it with her, and it was utterly brilliant. It was a very, very wonderful thing. Stephanie, do you want to say anything about that?
They were just awesome. Both of them were just tremendous experiences, and so good for us locally, like bringing so much credibility and excitement, and yeah, just having you all come and then Polly Wiesner, I remember the second time she was talking about how anthropologically, like, it's a very very big bonding thing for a community to host others. So yeah, anyhow, that was cool. Yeah, it was beautiful each time you came.
Yes, so anybody who went to a time banking conference would know that what would happen is everybody would be getting up pretty early in the morning, actually, for like 7:30 at breakfast or whatever. And the talk began. I mean, it did not stop. It was just boom, 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 talk till like midnight. And then up in the morning and boom, 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 boom. And the energy was just amazing. I'm using that word again, but it was so exciting. It was like we were all exploring new territory, learning new things together, and we were seeing the world sort of anew. It was an amazing experience. So I will keep moving on. Oh, this is the Sobrante Park Time Bank, and there is Cheryl Walton and the coordinators, and Cheryl led the creation of an amazing time bank that was designed to bridge differences between the African American population and the Hispanic population in this neighborhood that was literally considered on the wrong side of the tracks. And it was a low income community, and there was tension between the long-standing community of African Americans and the incoming community of Hispanics. And the time bank played an amazing role in building trust between these two communities. And so one of the coordinators was Hispanic and one was African American, and the Hispanic coordinator did not speak English and vice versa, and yet they made it work. It was a beautiful thing. And Cheryl really kind of, as a community organizer, brought them into that space by helping them build trust together. And then the time bank did so many beautiful things with and for the community. And here we have Kent County Time Bank with Abby on the left and Edgar. And what does that sign say up? I can't see because it says you are screen sharing, and that's, I don't know how to get rid of that little
Exchange Street. Pam, I'm so glad you found that picture. I've been thinking that was in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, it was. Oh my goodness. And who is with you, Abby?
Oh gosh, I feel like the girl with the curly hair was from Idaho, maybe. And she was like super, like I learned all about the great state of Idaho and how actually beautiful it is and mountainy and I don't remember. Does anybody else remember the woman on the right?
Is it Lacey Sins in Idaho?
Yes, yes.
That's so cool that you remember these names. That's wonderful. So what year would that have been? 2011? Yes,
yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was, yes. And this is actually at Kent County Time Bank, I believe, in the farmers market.
Yes, good memory. That was literally, this is like one of my most favorite days of my entire life. And I just think of that smile on all of us. Like it's such a joy to have you guys, like Stephanie says, when the community just builds up from that kind of inspiration. And our time bank still talks about this. I don't know what year this was, 2013, I think.
Was it as late as that? Yes, it probably was, because that would have been 2 years after we met you in Rhode Island.
And you toured we had an Our Share Exchange Center, which was a brick and mortar, spend time credits on getting things. And it was, you guys came and toured it, and then we did.
Yes, and I got a hat there. Yes, I remember that. And this, I don't know how to get rid of this little black thing at the top here. How do I get rid of that? Nope, that didn't do it. Or maybe this.
Nope. Oh, you did
it. For me, the top is obscured. But anyway, there's Edgar looking like he's won something. I'm not sure what that says. Official recognition for time banking, something. But there's Jen Moore. Jen Moore was utterly brilliant at building a sense of community around time banking, and she started up the Ambassador Corps, which sadly we ended up losing Jen because we just did not have the funding. And she went on, she has become a minister, which is amazing and just so fitting for Jen. But she was genius. And there's Edgar looking very happy, and me too. I didn't even recognize myself for a little while, but yes, that's me. And we're celebrating something, but I cannot see what. So
she was moving on, so you gave her a certificate.
Oh, thank you. She did move on, and she went on to do what she really wanted in life, which was to become a minister, and perfect role for Jen. So I'm going to keep going. This is Lisa Conlon, who hosted the 214 Time Bank and did time banking with her family support group up in Rhode Island. And she organized, really, she poured her energy into organizing that conference together. And she was the executive director of Time Banks, then called Time Banks USA, for, I believe it was 9 months. And extraordinary energy, extraordinary commitment. And she moved on, I think, really, she picked up more with the co-production and less with the time banking per se later on, but she was really a very powerful leader while she was with us. And there's Edgar and Mark McDonough. Mark really has been an enduring presence with time banking since 2004, when he contributed Community Weaver, the first software we ever had that actually operated on the internet. And that came all thanks to Mark. And he's continuing to be incredibly supportive And he doesn't look quite as young as that anymore, but his hair is now gray. This was from 20 years ago, so it's interesting to see. And this is the UK. Sam Hopley, who was the CEO for a while of Time Banking UK. And I think this looks like Maria Belén. No, I'm sorry. Martin, do you know this is in Spain? Martin, do you have any sense of who this is on the left?
I don't recognize it, sorry, no.
You don't?
This is actually Rhode Island.
Oh, this is Rhode Island. So this is, I'm sorry, I'm having another blank moment. The person who heads up.
Sam Hopley.
There's no Sam Hopley, I recognize. No, the woman is the head of the Familia Salud. Martin, you know, she's a good friend of yours.
Elvira, is that Elvira?
Elvira, yes, that is Elvira.
Right.
Yes, that is amazingly Elvira. So again, a long time ago. There's Abby and Edgar having a big hug. Oh, this is the office. It was so chaotic in the office sometimes that we got the crew to put on a show.
That was a typical day, honestly.
There's Pam looking very so calm in the middle of all of this energy. And this was how the office was, just full of things happening all the time. So we put on a little vignette for the, here's Stacy with her crew. And so I can't see because I've got something that hides the top of the slideshow for me. I can't see what's going on here, but it says something time credits are and what it means to be a human being.
You're in there? That was in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that was in Rhode Island too. Ah, so Stacy, were these people from your time bank or from different time banks?
Different time banks. We were working on a project.
Ah.
And that was a community garden.
Oh, that's right. That was part of the conference, wasn't it? To work on a project,
yes.
Up there, which was such a brilliant idea. Yes.
And
so,
Chris,
yes.
Sorry.
No, I'll go back.
Yeah, people who are earning time credits are taking a stand about what it means to be a human being. I love that Edgar said that.
Oh, okay. Oh, lovely. Very good. Thank you for catching that. I can't see the tops of the slides here. So Stephanie and Kathy and Edgar, I believe that's up in Kathy's place in Connecticut, where there's this big effort to create the Knowledge Commons, I think. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yeah,
it's a retreat.
Yeah, that was at the beach.
Yes, it was at the beach.
Yeah.
And a lot of energy and connecting with New Zealand at the time, I remember. And how many people were there? About 14, 20 of us? Or?
There were about 20 laptops going at the same time.
That was pretty amazing. Stephanie was running a 3-ring circus there.
Yes.
And this was, again, the Rhode Island conference. And I'm so happy to see Eric standing there looking as pleased as punch. Lisa Conlon, I think, at the back there. Stephanie and Kim Hodge and Stacy, Kathy, Linda Hogan is there. Oh, and there's Marshy. Marshy, just next to Stephanie. And look at that lovely energy. It was very cool. There's Abby with Eric and Alan Baker, who played a big role in helping sort out issues that came up with Community Weaver. So you will know that Eric is our technical coordinator and technical support person. And he and Alan really formed a team very often to sort out the things that would bedeviling us or the software. Where was this, Abby?
Providence.
Oh, still Providence. So we got a lot from Providence. I'm guessing this is also a Providence one. So I'm going to keep going. Oh, this is Edgar with Phoenixville. And they've been going since, I think, 2003. And Margot was such a force for that time bank. She was really, she and Joel, they just plunged into making a beautiful time bank in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Here we are in DC doing some organizing in DC.
Is that at your house, Chris?
That was at our house, yes.
Oh, what a beautiful library.
Have you not been to our house?
No.
Oh my goodness, this is our living room. This is our living room, and all of these books, they look very grand, and they're all very old, from Edgar's mother's house. But yeah, we have zillions and zillions of books all over the house. All the other books look much more mundane than these beautiful old ones, but yeah.
Beautiful.
Sorry, did you say something, Abby?
Well, I was commenting on the Native American print that you have there. Was that, I know you two shared
Yes, we did.
Right?
So that was the cover of Edgar's book called The Indian in White America, Our Brother's Keeper, The Indian in White America. Whoa. And as I was just saying, you know what happens when you are grieving somebody, which is every now and then you sort of, you forget that they're not with you. I had just one of those moments where I suddenly thought, Edgar's here. No, but he's not here. This is the Indian in Our Brother's Keeper, The Indian in White America, and that was on the cover of it. And yes, indeed, that was how I met Edgar, because I was working on my doctoral thesis, and I was meeting with tribal leaders, and they kept saying, you must talk with Edgar Kahn. And eventually I did, and then we got to meet, and then we got to marry. So I'm going to keep going through that. This is Deborah Frazier. Deborah Frazier was a real force here in DC, and just ardently in support of time banking. And she died 3 months ago. She was an utterly unique, amazing, wonderful woman. And here is Sandra Shirley, who's worked closely with Edgar for years and has been a beautiful partner to work with. And there's Danielle, Edgar's granddaughter, and Pam. Remind me of the name.
That's Hannah from New Zealand.
Hannah from New Zealand, yes. And she was with us for a summer from New Zealand. There's Edgar with his granddaughter, Danielle, and they're appearing on the screen at something. And here, Edgar is with another force of nature. This is Marie Nelson, who founded the Time Bank in Tampa Bay, Florida. And she sadly passed away, I think, about a year ago. She was an amazingly, she had this vision, as did Edgar, for how a community could be bound together through organizations using time banking to really achieve co-production, to really cross boundaries between different populations in a community, between those who had wealth and those who had none, between different ethnic groups, really across, to really weave community in the way that Edgar had always dreamed of doing. She also promoted that idea very, very much in Tampa Bay.
And Chris, if I could jump in, this is Andy.
Yes.
All of the things that are on the door there, that would be equal to a half a sentence for Marie. That's how she spoke.
She did. I could just believe that.
I was going to say, yeah, this was at Kathy Perlow's house when we did a leadership retreat. And I'm so glad that we found a picture. Yeah, BJ, go ahead.
Yeah, 2014. And I often think that if Marie and Edgar could sit and talk now, you know, in some other realm. You know, they're just going off and off and off because they were always on the same level. Like you said, visionaries. They just, their minds run at such a pace. It was amazing. But yeah, this was where I met Edgar and Chris. Marie had flown into Pennsylvania. I drove down and picked her up. I had been up in northern New York, and that's when I met all the rest of the crew.
It was a beautiful retreat. There were about 20 of us there. Is that right, Kathy? And we were all.
I think there were about 27 of us.
That was that many of us.
At times there were, yes.
And most of us were sleeping in Kathy's house. I don't know how you did it, Kathy, but you did. You hosted us all. It was a wonderful retreat. And that metal tag, the dog tag,
yep.
That you want to say something about those, Abby?
It's funny. I looked at those and I thought, did I make this? Sometimes I get time banking confused with what my women's hockey team. There's actually a lot of similarities there. So I made those for my women's hockey team. And then I think they were champion tags. So I think one said something about time banking and one said I'm a champion. I don't remember, but they're dog tags. They're probably hanging up somewhere. You'll find them.
Oh, yes, they definitely are. See, Edgar's wearing one and so is Marie. You handed them out. It was lovely. This was up at Yale or Harvard. Do you know which one, Pam?
It was at Harvard with the Chinese students.
Yes, and there you can see he was inspiring them all. How happy he looks. So, and this is New Zealand. Edgar went down to New Zealand, and the New Zealand time frame is very different from ours. So they're like 14 hours difference. Anyway, evening here is their morning over there ahead of us. And he would call me and tell me what it was like. And he said to me, Chris, this is one of the peak experiences of my life to be here and to see all these communities doing time banking and glorying in the relationships that they're creating. He was so charmed and happy and thrilled and inspired to see what was happening in New Zealand. You can see, look at the faces, how thrilled everybody was. It was a beautiful trip for him. And that's Margaret Jeffries, who took time banking to New Zealand after coming to a workshop that Edgar and I had done in Bard. It was a little conference organized by Chris, Richard Rockefeller's nephew, Chris.
Lindstrom.
Yes, that's right, Chris Lindstrom, who popped that in. That was right. That was, oops, somebody's trying to get in. Let me let them in. Chris Lindstrom organized this beautiful, beautiful conference on money. I think it was alternatives to money. And Margaret Jeffries came and she said, I'm going to take time banking back to New Zealand. And she made it happen in New Zealand big time. So there she's holding up something I think they must have produced down there called Give and Take. And there's Edgar with No More Throwaway People, the original version of it. So she passed away too. And she was extraordinary right to the very end, just like Edgar. Even a couple of weeks before she died, she went to Korea and Tehran, and I believe Surak as well hosted her in Korea, which was amazing. This is more New Zealand, and I'll just keep moving through. This is Wales and Spice. So Spice, and here we are with members of Spice, and Edgar looking very happy down in Wales. Names, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on names here. Does anybody want to throw in some names?
I think there's Becky from Spice on the left, just to the right of Edgar's profile, and a different Becky who is the chief exec sitting in the yellow chair. And I'm a bit too far to recognize the lady in the middle.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Julie, for sharing those with us. Was that?
Becky Booth is in the yellow chair.
Becky Booth, yes, Becky Booth in the yellow chair there. And I think Becky's now she went off to Uganda. She left Spice and went to Uganda. I don't know if she's still.
She's in Lewisham. She runs another charity which deals with safeguarding people and domestic violence.
Okay, so she's back in the UK. Well, she was extraordinary how she got that organization up and running. Here's Edgar and me celebrating Valentine's Day with Valentines from Abby's Time Bank, and every one of those hearts had a message from a Time Bank member. It was just a beautiful thing to get this in the mail on Valentine's Day. There's Deborah Fraser and
Josefina Mata.
Josefina, yes, and Josefina from New Mexico, and she was actually on the board, and she and Edgar really worked so closely together to try and bring time banking into AmeriCorps in New Mexico. And for some reason, it didn't happen, which was extraordinary because Josefina was an amazing organizer, but who knows why that didn't happen. But the two of them worked very closely for a long time to try and pull that off, to create something called care banks, which would be a certain way of organizing a time bank for seniors in particular. Oh, there's Hiran from Korea who came over to visit, just in our living room again. So with the Time Dollar How-To book, which was produced by Annie Casey. And this was the DC Time Bank. And where is Alison Basile? Just to the left of Edgar, smiling just behind him to the left is somebody by the name of Alison Basile, who really started up the Time Bank in DC. And sitting next to me is Deborah, and to the right at the top there is Caitlin, who became a Time Bank coordinator for the Time Bank. And we're all looking very happy because it was a beautiful event, DC Time Bank event. And this is a very dear friend of Edgar's, John Richard, who is the right-hand man of Ralph Nader. And they actually published No More Throwaway People. But there he's holding up Time Dollar, I'm not sure. I think he must have played a role in that too. And here we are in Los Angeles with, I'm sorry that people have to keep helping me out. I'm very sorry.
Carla?
I'm sorry?
Is it Carla?
Yes, it is Carla Ballard. Yes, it's
Carla Ballard. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we went and had a trip to, oops. Here we go. And this was also with Carla and Andy. This is at the house here. And this person standing next to me and next to Edgar is actually the founder of Venmo, which you may have used, Venmo. That's the man who started off Venmo. And Carla hoped that maybe he would do something brilliant with time banking to get time banking off and make it viral, like Venmo had gone viral. But that didn't happen. We're on a more slow growth rather than a rapid growth. And this is Carla's husband. And there, of course, is Pam. So I'll just keep going. Here's in Swarthmore, Edgar was recognized along with 3 other individuals.
Four hours a day, 7 days a week. We haven't been able to work them on that yet.
I'm going to go to the
And I said, we need to value work that the market does not value and we need to value people whom the market does not value.
Just little clips.
It's a medium of exchange that values every hour spent helping another human being. That hour is a slice of eternity. It is priceless, and time banking has now spread to 38 countries. It's a medium of exchange that values. Second memory that I want to share,
I'm going to go past that.
is with my oldest son, Jonathan.
So I'm going to go past that. Was a little bit long, and that was something a bit more personal. Here we are in Korea with Surak, and oops, how can I pause this? I'm going to go back. So this is, you will recognize Pam. She had just done a beautiful dance, and we were there at a dance performance of Pam's, just enjoying the heck out of being able to see Pam do a beautiful, beautiful flamenco dancing. She's an extraordinary dancer. If you ever get the chance to see Pam dance, you should take it, because it's stunning. So this was Surak and Heran in, whoops.
Heran is here. I don't know if she'd want to.
Oh, she's on there. Do you want to say something, Heran? Whoops, let me go back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah, but I think here is Seoul, when probably the restaurant, Chicken Soup Restaurant, Ginseng Chicken Soup Restaurant. Yeah, and I think it was in 2018 when Edgar and you visited Seoul for the second time.
I think that's
time, yeah. First time
yes.
was 2006.
Yes, and I should say something about that trip in 2006 with Heran, because Heran was the translator, and that's when we met you, Heran, and you took us down to that we went
Gumi?
Across. Yes, what was it called?
Gumi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where the historical aspects of Korea and the history of Korea, they had this a kind of historical town and museum. It was very, very.
Oh yeah, that was Gyeongju in the very south of Korea, very southern part of Korea. We went down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was very beautiful. We took a high-speed train, and it goes like 350 miles an hour from one side of Korea to the other. It's just extraordinary, just boom, bullet train. But on the way, we did a talk to about 200 government officials, I recall. Mm-hmm. And you, Heran, were translating this talk that Edgar and I did to all those government officials. It was a very special trip. Yeah. So Heran and Surak are making Time Bank happen in Korea, and doing it in a very lovely way by really modeling it and then showing other people how this can work. And it's really growing, isn't it? Is it not, Heran?
Yeah, well, it's really growing, and thanks to your assistance over a long time. Well, government officials, more of government officials are showing interest in time banks.
And that you have been so persistent. You've just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it. You've just enormously persistent with it.
Yeah, well, so another new government is showing interest recently. So we are talking with them. We are so happy. But yeah.
That's wonderful. That's really great to hear. So
and this is after Edgar and Chris' presentation to the volunteer centers in Seoul. there are about 25 volunteer centers in Korea, all government run, and they organized the speech by Chris and Edgar in 2018. This was one of the 3-4, I think, workshops that happened in Seoul during the visit in 2018. You worked so hard.
You really did. You worked so hard to pull all of these events together. It was a great time.
And the volunteer center in Seoul is still running time banking projects.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent to hear that. Yeah. That's so good. That's very good. So this is in Spain. This was the conference in Spain, and there's Belen with the No More Throwaway People. We were all having dinner together, as you can see. And here he is again with, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name again. Martin. What?
Elvira.
Elvira, that's right. In front of this extraordinary wall of live plants. That was a beautiful. Then on to Portugal, and there's Marco and Bruno on the left-hand side and their team members to the right. And they created some time banking software, beautiful time banking software for Portugal, with a real vision of their own of how to rebuild local communities that were very vibrant around local businesses, as well as the communities of those businesses, the members of those communities. This is England, and Sarah and Martin and Edgar, and who else is there? Martin?
I can't see.
You can't see who's there. I can't see either.
That's our very delightful tea break venue, and out in the sunshine. I can't see who it is now.
Yes, it's like an outside office. It was cold that day, but sunny. It was a beautiful day. You can see no leaves on the tree. Look at you guys, you two. You look like you've got the halos, both of you. So that was a lovely afternoon with you. And there, yes, so there's Julian, Martin, and Riaz and Edgar. And you see that remarkable building behind them is actually, you want to talk about that, Martin?
Yeah, that's the motorway services that took 12 years to build. But basically 3 pence in every pound goes to the local community and funds the time bank. So we've got our own source of money. It was a long project, but it's really worth it, and it's completely environmental. It's hidden under the ground, and all the food and everything is bought locally, and we've created 400 jobs as well. So it's making that whole thing and making an asset out of something that once was a problem. Motorway service stations are normally a problem, but we're winning prizes of being the sort of place people want to visit, but generating an income that we can control for the people in the community, and time banking. So brilliant.
It really was brilliant. The architecture, you can see for a services stop, the architecture was beautiful with all this beautiful wood. There was a lake, a pond, a lake, I guess you'd say, next to it. And as you say, Martin, it was sort of built into the ground, so it has a grass roof, right?
Yeah.
Green roof, yeah.
Yes. And it was, you were able to make this happen because the person who owned the land donated it. Is that right?
No, we raised money to buy it. A local farmer. But we got the thing was getting planning permission, which was the hard deal. But we got that because the idea came from people in the local community, which is a very depressed area, a very poor area of Gloucester. And the idea came from them, and the credibility sort of grew from the grassroots and the sort of people we had involved. And the local farmer sold the land for just £1 million for us, which was amazingly cheap. Took 22 million to build, so we went into partnership with Westmoreland family who've done it before. But and that Riaz, I mean, is Riaz here? I don't know. He was going to try to be, obviously not. He's one of the most stalwarts. He's the backbone of time banking in the UK. He lives it and runs Fair Shares, has done for how many years? I don't know.
Forever.
Forever. Yes.
It's the beginning of Fair Shares.
Yeah.
It was really, truly inspiring to see Riaz, what can I say, living his joy for living the thing that he most wanted to do, making this time bank come alive. And he was so alive with it. And he works with these young people, and it was just really what he's doing there through the time bank is extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, it's just, oh, and this is new, Stephanie. There you are in the middle, Stephanie. And tell us about this, Stephanie, because this was a very special thing.
Yeah, so it's Annalise is on the far left and Kate is in the middle next to Edgar. And this is Delante Wilkins. And Kate and Annalise and I did a solidarity sprint across the US in 2019 in September. And we went and saw you two, and you introduced us to Delante, who we're still doing some work with. He does really cool stuff with Link Up Mutual Aid in DC. But yeah, it was just a lovely time and really cool to be able to all be at your home from different continents.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing, wasn't it? And Kate shared with us what they were doing in, I forget which town she was from, but it sounded like an extraordinary combination of time banking and a kind of an enterprise that was taking food from the country into the town. Do you know what that was? Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, so she's in Hull, UK, and yeah, Time Bank East Riding or Hull and East Riding, and yeah, they do these feasts. They were doing them at big festivals, but they've started moving them into different communities and having there'll be like refugee communities who will be a key part of putting on the feast. And yeah, they're like one of the mutual aid pilot sites too. They're connecting enterprise development and other forms of currency with time banking and making a bunch of cool stuff happen.
So it's so good. Edgar would say this is setting in motion things you don't control. His belief was if you could just fire up people to do the things that they want to do, that was the way to make something really happen. And it was a thrill to meet all of you and learn what you were doing, to hear all about it. So this is us. There's Krista and Abby and Pam and Edgar and me, and Eric isn't in that team shot. I'm not sure why, but we are the team with Eric. So, oh, there's a couple of photos of me that was at an event that I just happened to very much like that photograph. And I think, are we near the end? Oh, just a couple more of Edgar. I hope they're not being blocked out for you as they are for me. I'm not seeing, look at that. With a whole bunch of lovely flowers.
We're seeing the full screen, Chris. It looks great.
Oh, good. So there he is with Time Dollars. This was probably just a couple of years ago. And there he is with the garden that he loves so, so much. Those flowers in front have obviously done their thing by the time he's there. But I just love this photo of showing how happy he was to be there digging in the dirt. And here's, I think this may be the final picture, Mr. Time. Oh, no, there's another. Are there any more? Is that the last one? He's saying goodbye. Yep, that was the last one.
That's it. That's from Hiron. Thank you, Hiron, for that one.
For the last one, saying goodbye. Whoops, I'm going in the wrong direction. Let's see. Will it? It won't let me go there. It won't let me go there. Okay. Well, that was. Thank you all who sent in those slides, and I know there are many more of you who are not in the slides who would have slides to send as well. You can tell that it was a life of great richness, wonderful, wonderful people that he and I together met, and Edgar just met himself. And I just want to say just such a huge thank you on his behalf for making his dream, his vision come to life. It's an extraordinary thing. And I will turn you over to any comments. I haven't left you a lot of time, I'm afraid, but would anybody like to share something? Noreen's gone to bed. Thank you, Noreen. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry you had to go, but yes, it is late over in you. And Philippe, why don't we start with the people who are in the UK or Europe who are so far away? Philippe, would you like to share something?
Yeah, I mean, Martin was ahead of me in this game in Britain, but certainly Edgar had an incredible, well, without Edgar, it would never have started really. But I think that the energy that he had, and certainly for me personally, this idea of making up as you go kind of thing, it's exactly me. It's what I do. I just follow. I just have a sniff and follow the smell of something that is really good, and out of that you start to develop lots of projects. So, for example, Russia Green Time Bank, we started just at a tiny little group in South London, has now become a diversity of projects, but it has all started from an ideas, just follow the ideas, and the people having the space to formulate ideas and to make it happen through time banking. And so I think that philosophy is really powerful. And also I think the idea that you can take risks, you might as well go for it. I mean, one of my sentences is try it till it breaks, try it. And that's, I think Edgar has given me that kind of vision. And I think that's where the time banks like Reyes in Gloucester, that's what they do with all sorts of stuff. So it's been fabulous. But I think, and I think I put it on LinkedIn, is this man was, if you went with this man on his trips, you'd be tired because he was restless. He kept going all the time. And Martin would know that, because going up to Hassel Commons, and when he was in London, he'd go from place to place to place with the same message. He'd get his notebook out, he'd read the poem, he always reads the poem.
Yes,
and,
he would.
But he had the energy was incredible. And I think that's in the Time Bank movement, that energy is in this room now, and it won't stop. We have to keep going.
Thank you so much. And Martin, you wanted to share something too. Thanks so much, Philippe.
Just add to that, Edgar always used to praise us in the UK for how quickly we were developing time banking, but he never mentioned the fact that we had him behind us to rely on whenever we got into trouble or didn't know where the hell we were doing. I have never known a person who you could present any sort of problem or difficulty with, be it from personal, strategic, work, anything, environmental, any sort of problem. At the end of it, you'd come to some conclusion just by spending some time with him. And I've been very lucky for the last 2 years over the lockdown. We've been doing these Tuesday night meetings with Edgar and Chris and a couple of others. And we recorded the podcast there, and I really do recommend. It's called Taking Back Our Economy. And if you want to be reminded of Edgar, that his eloquence is just amazing on those things. We had special guests, but he was the star of it. And I like things simple. And during those podcasts, Edgar just, one sentence he just threw away was, yeah, but it's all about caring and learning. And just put everything into perspective. That's if new caring is not going on, ideally collective caring, acts of collective caring, and you're not learning new stuff, then we're on the wrong track. And I just love that, just boiling down to its essence. But I really do, taking back our economy is really worth listening to if you want to be reminded of Edgar.
That's such a good thing to bring up. Thank you, Martin. That's true. And actually, towards the end, nearing just in November, so that was towards the end, Edgar was invited by Heran and a Chinese contingent of time bankers to present, to make his comments on all of their presentations at this forum. And Edgar, honestly, his health at that point in time was really, it was really going down. So he wasn't very much able to sort of keep with it and make a presentation. But he listened to all the things that were presented. And he and I were sitting there together and our mouths were dropping open at what we were hearing. It was so amazing. And then at the end of it all, it was Edgar's turn to speak. And he just said to them, "You are warriors for social justice." Oh. And honestly, he sort of captured in the moment, it was one of Edgar's phrases, but he captured what they were so centrally about. And all of the people on the call, their faces just lit up because he captured an essence, and he would do that again and again. You're absolutely right, Martin. That was one of his great gifts, was to capture the essence of something. So thanks for sharing that.
Chris, I wonder, just before anybody else, I know I saw Krista with her hand up, but I'm not sure if she meant, okay, no. I am curious if you would tell us what these town hall calls meant to Edgar and why we should continue them. We have about 10 minutes left on the call, so I feel like there might be another good Edgar story in there. But if you would real quick, just tell us what he felt about these calls.
I will. And I just see that a couple of people have had to go off, and I just want to thank them for being here, it's so lovely to see you all. Yes, these town halls were the time when he could speak to everyone that comes on the call and touch base again. And Martin talked about that sort of core essence of time banking. The thing about time banking is it's so multi-layered. It can be so multi-layered, and it can be complex because of that. And so keeping your eye on the prize is utterly essential. And Edgar never, ever, ever took his eyes off the prize. And I think these town halls were for him an opportunity to keep doing that, bringing back the eyes on the prize as to what was really time banking really about. What is the heart of time banking? About building decency, caring, and a passion for justice, using these tools and finding the multitude of ways in which time banking could do that, and hearing from people who were making that happen, hearing from them their stories, and then reflecting back. I'm hearing you, and this is it. This is how we get decency, caring, and a passion for justice. So they meant a lot, and I know you're planning to continue them, which is absolutely genius. And they will probably become reformatted as time goes on, because just like Philippe said, it's about learning and caring, and the town halls are here to express the learning and caring of time banking. So yes, they're absolutely wonderful. And there's also the Time for All Time Bank, which is intended to do the same for coordinators and leaders, not necessarily coordinators, anybody leading a time bank. But the Time for All Time Bank is to say, hey, we can learn together about this thing that on the face of it is so simple, and in reality is full of the richness and complexity of what life is all about. So that's what they do. Yeah, thank you for raising both of those things. Do we have more sharing from anybody? Yes, yes, Stacy.
Hi. Yes. When I was looking through my photographs to send in to Pam, I realized that I have lost an important photograph to an external drive issue. It was at Providence, and we were doing those projects, and I was leading a painting crew at a school to, we were painting a red door, and Edgar and Chris came through just to see how we were doing. And so I wanted to get a shot of Edgar painting the red door because the paint was still wet. So this was like connecting with Edgar as an artist to artist moment was really special for me. He let me pose him and set it up just right and get the brush in his head, get it dipped just right, everything. He looks so fabulous against that red door. And if anyone has seen that picture, please let me know where it is because I'd love to have it back. But that was a very wonderful moment with him and his white hair against that red door.
Oh, I saw the picture.
Yeah.
When you came back.
Yeah, and it's missing.
Well, there you are. The call has gone out for a photo of Edgar with the red door. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that.
Thank you.
I think we'll definitely find it. And so we just have about 6 minutes left. And before maybe someone else shares, I feel like there's another Edgar story out there. I just do want to say that absolutely these calls are going to continue every month. We love doing our town hall calls on Sunday, although in March, this is really exciting. We have the International Time Banking Day, which this year will be hosted by Time Banking UK. Super exciting to collaborate with these other countries. It feels like the Olympics to me, which I love. So every year, this will be passed around from country to country where we're all working together, which part of this call is just, again, made me feel Edgar's idea of this global movement. Like, okay, Edgar, you did it. All right. So on Sunday, March 20th at 10:30 a.m. EST, there will be a programming through Time Banking UK about International Time Banking Day. There will be stories. And again, also, I think they're celebrating 20? Is it 20? Okay, 20 year. I mean, this is all kinds of great time banking celebrations in March. So Sunday the 20th, and then again on Edgar's birthday, March 23rd at 9:30 EST, there will be more programming. And also if you have a story to share, there's a link. I think maybe Krista just put that in the chat. So please go ahead and click on that so you can have a tab and take a look and sign up. And I think that's going to be super global. So I'll be quiet now because we have 4 more minutes. Chris, I'm going to turn it back to you to invite any more Edgar stories.
Yes, please, anyone. I just want to say this, that there's a zillion stories through all of you. And as I'm looking at all of your faces, and I'm looking at people and I think there's a story with that person and a story with that person. And I'm so sorry that we don't have time to share them all. And I believe, Krista, is this right that you're collecting stories and photos and that we'll put them on the website so that we'll have an area dedicated to stories with Edgar and a record of so many things that he's done in the past. I mean, we didn't even begin to touch on the youth court, for instance, or Edgar's work with the youth advocacy program. So many, many, many different things that we couldn't touch on today, but we'd love to keep them available for on the website so that people can go in and see the remarkable impact that this person had. I just saw Amy, caught my eye. Amy, you just happened to be under Krista, and hello. So Amy's on the West Coast, but there she was with us.
And
no,
Krista,
there's many years.
I think maybe Mashi has her hand up.
Oh, good. Mashi, where are you? I'm not seeing you at all. You're on the second screen.
I'm here.
Okay.
I just wanted to add one thing. you know, I've known Edgar for 35 years now. And anytime the phone would ring at 2 or 3 a.m., chances were pretty good that it was Edgar. And he had no clue that it was the middle of the night, you know, like, so I say, hello, you know, I'd answer the phone because Mashi, I was just thinking about blah, blah, blah. I was like, Edgar, some of us have to sleep. You know, I know you're not human. You just keep going. You're like that ever-ready battery or something, but I need to sleep, you know? And then I get these calls, Mashi, I need a favor. Or what, Edgar? What do you need? I need you to cover an event for me. And like, he made it sound like it was around the corner. You know, I said, okay, Edgar, where's the event? He said, Paris. I was like, because, you know, he was double booked or something. And then he called me up one day. I think he was actually in the emergency room or something in the hospital. And he said, I need you to cover an event. It's at the Press Club in Washington. I was like probably 8 months pregnant or something. And he wanted me to just fly over there. And you know, I was pretty new at this stuff. And I wanted me to meet with Ralph Nader and the press. And I was like, Edgar, please, you're making me crazy. I'm just, you know, but you know, when I went through the challenges I went through, finding new sponsors and homes for Time Bank, Edgar was totally, and Chris were totally there with me. Edgar offered to just come up and, you know, talk to anybody he could help, you know, talk to, and he convinced anybody on our behalf. And I was very, very grateful for that support when we needed it. So I felt like there was very much a reciprocal love and friendship there. And, you know, I'm still waiting for that call at 2 a.m.
It's true. He did go 24 hours, and how he did it, he had a ever full bottle of NoDoz. And he would just pop NoDoz to keep himself going. So yeah, I don't know that was particularly good for his health, but that's how he did it. That's how he kept awake and just kept going and going and going.
So Chris and Mashi, I love that we ended this particular call with your stories, Mashi being one of the longest, if not the longest, I think maybe, time banking pioneer for us, and we're very grateful to you. And Chris, I think I speak for the entire call in gratitude for you sharing those stories and sharing your heart as the person who knew Edgar the most, and your own self being selfless and partnering with these time banking ideals, just how much we honor you as well. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. I hope we can keep Edgar's eyes on the prize as we go forward. It just feels so important to me. And I think that has been brought out, and hopefully on our website, we'll have more stories of Edgar, more pictures. It's never too late. We can add to it for years as more stories. We're going to find the picture of the red door, and that will be on the website. And Chris, any closing words? It is 5:31, so I want to be respectful of people's time, and we'll say goodbye, but I'd like for you to close out.
I will. I'm going to close out with a quote from Edgar, and here it is. We refuse to trivialize small acts. In doing so, we immunize ourselves from a form of death, the hardening of the heart. One small act, one, I think it was large victory. It's just gone and taken over my screen, so I can't see. Oh, one small act, no small victory. That's Edgar. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at International Time Banking Day.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I shall stop the recording.